Right now, we're traveling through a massive cosmic hole. And the strangest thing is, almost no one talks about it. Forget the classic pictures of stars scattered evenly across space. If you zoom out far enough, the universe looks like a glowing web. Galaxies are clumped into dense, brilliant filaments, with colossal dark voids stretching between them. So these voids, amazingly, take up the vast majority of the universe, sometimes cited as nearly 90% of space. Well, most of the matter, the galaxies, stars, and clusters, is concentrated in filaments and walls, the strings of the web. According to a provocative hypothesis, the Milky Way isn't cruising along a busy cosmic highway. No, we're drifting inside a vast local underdensity, the KBC Void, or the local hole. Estimates vary, but some suggest it could be around 2 billion light-years across. It's a region where matter may be noticeably less dense than the cosmic average. Usually, this would just be a cool, slightly unsettling trivia point. We live in the cosmic suburbs, so what's the big deal? Well, our position inside this void might not just be a line in our galactic address. Viewing the universe from inside this massive depression could be fundamentally distorting our measurements of everything else. For decades, scientists have been trying to pin down the most important number in cosmology: the speed at which the universe is expanding. To do this, they use two independent rulers. The first ruler looks at the grand scale. It peers into the very early universe, studying the CMB, cosmic microwave background, the ancient light left over from 380,000 years after the Big Bang. Physicists don't measure the current expansion directly. They take a snapshot of this ancient light and, using the standard cosmological model, extrapolate what the expansion rate should be today. This distant ruler yields a result of about 67 kilometers per second per megaparsec. The second ruler looks at our immediate neighborhood. Scientists use Cepheid variables, stars that pulse at a rate linked to their true brightness, to calibrate Type 1a supernovae. These supernovae aren't perfectly identical, but they can be standardized and used as cosmic lighthouses. And this local ruler stubbornly gives a different result, about 73 kilometers per second per megaparsec. Totally different. For simplicity's sake, let's just say 67 versus 73. A 9% difference might sound like a rounding error, but in cosmology, it's a chasm. Two reliable rulers are pointing to two different universes. This is a big deal. Think about it. The expansion rate is one of the key parameters used to calculate the age of the universe. A higher rate makes the universe younger, which makes it increasingly difficult to reconcile with the age of the oldest objects, the ancient stars, globular clusters, and early galaxies. It doesn't mean the stars are literally older than the universe, but it reinforces that nagging feeling that something is missing from our map. The first instinct in such a situation is someone must have messed up. Maybe the telescopes are acting up, or there's an error in the calculations. But no. Both rulers have been checked and double-checked, and then checked again for good measure. This discrepancy has moved past the realm of random error. The probability of this being a fluke or a telescope glitch is minuscule, roughly one chance in several million. But the source of the problem, systematic error, new physics, or our local structure, remains a mystery. One of the biggest conundrums in all of cosmology, and it's driving everybody nutso. The standard model of cosmology, which explains almost everything else remarkably well, has hit a brick wall right here. And this leads to a wild thought. What if the problem isn't the rulers, and not the universe itself? What if the problem is where we are standing? Imagine a giant, transparent bubble. Its walls are incredibly dense and heavy, made of massive galaxy clusters and dark matter, while the inside is nearly empty. Now place a few galaxies inside, including the Milky Way. They won't just hang there. Here's why. Gravity is the ultimate cosmic tug of war. Mass always pulls on mass. Since there's almost nothing in the center of the bubble, there's practically nothing to pull back. The dense walls on the outside, however, have overwhelming mass. In this cosmic contest, the edges win out, and the galaxies inside begin drifting towards the denser outer walls. A local flow is created, and this is where a possible solution might be hiding. When our telescopes look at neighboring galaxies, they measure their speed of recession, but part of that speed, according to this model, might not be related to the global expansion of the universe, but to the local flow. We and our neighbors are simply being pulled out of the void towards the edges. The telescopes see real physical movement, but we might be misinterpreting its cause. Such a local flow, if it is indeed large enough, could be adding those extra percentages to our local expansion calculations. And this is where the hypothesis becomes especially intriguing. It doesn't conclusively solve the mystery, but it offers a physical mechanism that could explain at least part of the discrepancy. We see real recession, but part of what we interpret as expansion may actually be local motion within a large-scale structure. But we gotta be honest here. The KBC Void is not a proven fact, it's a controversial hypothesis. Some observations do point to a local deficit of matter and large-scale flows, but standard simulations struggle to form voids of this size, and different datasets disagree on how deep and how large this depression really is. Therefore, we aren't looking at a finalized answer, but an ongoing cosmic investigation. If the KBC Void hypothesis holds up, its implications could be measurable. To grasp this, we need to look at our cosmic address. The Milky Way isn't a solo object. We're part of Laniakea, a supercluster of 100,000 galaxies. If the KBC Void hypothesis is correct, a significant part of our immediate cosmic neighborhood might be located inside this local underdensity. And if this void is real, it could noticeably affect the movement of our galaxy. So why are we flying? In space, there are no centers of gravity in the traditional sense. There are only regions with different densities. Inside a void, matter is noticeably sparse, while at its edges, in the walls and filaments of this cosmic web, the density of matter is much, much higher. This difference in density creates a gradient, a sort of tilt in the gravitational field. The dense areas surrounding the void pull harder than the nearly empty regions inside it. As a result, the movement of galaxies is determined not by the center of the void, but by the massive structures on its edges. Ultimately, the Milky Way, the local group, and our immediate cosmic neighborhood participate in a general drift towards denser regions. Relative to the cosmic microwave background, our local group is indeed moving at a massive speed, on the order of hundreds of kilometers per second, or about 1 million kilometers per hour. But we aren't just shooting out of the void like a bullet. Imagine our galaxy as a ship, drifting slowly with the current. We're simply being pulled towards the parts of the universe with more mass and gravitational weight. And the journey to those dense shores will take so long that for humans, the picture remains almost perfectly still. Inside such a void, the dynamics of expansion itself can differ from denser regions of the universe. To understand how, we gotta recall the two main factors that determine the fate of the large-scale universe. The first is gravity, which tries to pull matter together. The second is dark energy, which is linked to the accelerated expansion of space. In dense regions of the universe, gravity is sufficient to effectively break local expansion. The mass of galaxies pulls them towards each other and they resist. But inside a void, the density of matter is several times lower. Gravity operates much more weakly there, simply because there are too few objects nearby to pull on each other. Voids don't expand faster because dark energy is stronger there. Rather, with less matter inside them, there's less gravitational braking. Therefore, underdense regions become even emptier over time relative to dense regions. At first glance, this seems like a dry physical process, but it has an important consequence. Voids are a normal part of the cosmic web, but if our bubble is truly that vast, it might mean we live in a quieter cosmic neighborhood than the average dense regions of the universe. In dense galactic metropolises, conditions can be much more chaotic. Frequent galaxy mergers, supernova outbursts, and radiation from active black holes create an environment where stability is a rare luxury. We, however, are located in an area where cosmic activity is reduced. Perhaps such a quiet region lowers the frequency of certain major cosmic catastrophes. But this is a very cautious idea. Life on Earth depended primarily on local conditions. Our sun, Earth's orbit, the planet's composition, and the history of our galactic environment. So the void can be presented not as the cause of life, but as a beautiful hypothesis about a more peaceful cosmic neighborhood. The story with the local void is merely a rehearsal for what awaits the universe next. Today, we're incredibly lucky. Our window to the cosmos is wide open. By some estimates, there may be hundreds of billions or even trillions of galaxies in the observable universe. We can catch the ancient light of the Big Bang and accurately calculate the age of the cosmos, but this window is already closing. Because the expansion of the universe is accelerating for sufficiently distant galaxies, the space between us and them can stretch so quickly that their recession speed exceeds the speed of light. This does not violate physics. Galaxies are not flying through space faster than light. It is the space between us that is expanding. According to standard forecasts, in a few billion years, the Milky Way and Andromeda are expected to merge into one giant galaxy. But true cosmic isolation will come much later, over hundreds of billions or even trillions of years, when almost all other galaxies slip beyond our cosmological horizon. The light from all those other worlds will simply no longer be able to physically cross the expanding space. And the cosmic microwave background, that same reliable measuring ruler from the beginning of the video, will cool and stretch so much that it'll turn into an undetectable radio hum. The universe will literally erase all evidence of its birth. Imagine scientists of the future, some new civilization that arises in that era in another star system. They'll build perfect telescopes, point them at the sky, and see almost nothing beyond their giant galaxy. No scattering of distant galaxies, no obvious expansion, no bright relic clue from the early universe. This is the kind of cosmic isolation that haunts my dreams. They will conduct flawless, absolutely precise calculations, and these calculations will convincingly show them that their lonely galaxy is the entire universe, which has always existed and never changes, and they will be completely wrong. Reality itself will erase and hide the truth from them, just as the empty space around the Milky Way perhaps is hiding a piece of the truth from us right now. Perhaps the main secret of the universe is not hidden in black holes and dark energy or supernova explosions. It's that the universe never reveals itself in full. It always shows only the part that can be glimpsed from a specific place, a specific time, and a tiny point within the unthinkably vast cosmic web. We're used to trusting our eyes and telescopes, but the cosmos is a master of illusions, And even if the invisible area around the Milky Way can change how we measure reality, the question remains open: how many more such traps are hidden in our universe? If you want to continue this journey and explore the strangest and most paradoxical mysteries of the cosmos, subscribe to the channel, because as we saw today, sometimes a void is not the absence of a story. Sometimes a void is the story. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next... Damn it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Okay, wait, let me do that again. Thanks for watching.